Did you know the Renault 4 was once the best-selling French car ever, with over 8 million units hitting the roads? And now, after decades, Renault has brought it back, but not as a simple throwback. The 2025 Renault 4 E-Tech is a fully electric, packed with modern tech, a sleek retro-futuristic design, and just enough rugged charm to turn heads. It's got the looks, the tech, and the efficiency, but does it actually live up to its legendary name, or is Renault just playing the nostalgia game? Let's break it down. Performance. Alright, let's be real. When you hear Renault 4, you're probably thinking of that classic, no-frills, go-anywhere hatchback from back in the day. But the 2025 Renault 4 E-Tech? Oh, this one's got a whole new vibe. It's still got that retro charm, but now it's all electric, smooth, and surprisingly fun to drive. So what's under the hood? Or, well, under the floor since, EVs. Renault gives you two power options. The base model packs 120 horsepower with a 40 kilowatt-hour battery, giving you 186 miles of range, solid for daily commutes and weekend trips. But if you want a bit more punch, the higher-end version gives you 148 horsepower with a 52 kilowatt-hour battery, stretching that range to 250 miles. Now, let's be honest, this isn't some rocket on wheels type of EV, and it's not trying to be. The 0 to 60 mph time is around 8 to 10 seconds, which isn't gonna melt your face off, but here's the fun part. It's got instant torque. That means the moment you hit the pedal, boom, it moves. No lag, no waiting, just smooth acceleration. And trust me, in stop-and-go city traffic, that's way more useful than a 3-second 0 to 60 time. But how does it drive? Now this is where Renault really nailed it. The 4 E-Tech sits on the CMF BEV platform, which means it's light, well-balanced, and incredibly easy to throw around corners. It's front-wheel drive, so you're not dealing with any surprises, and the suspension, perfectly tuned for city life, it soaks up potholes like a pro but still keeps you steady when you hit the highway. It's one of those cars where you just hop in and instantly feel comfortable, with no weird learning curve and no awkward handling, just smooth, predictable driving. And parking? Oh, it's a dream. The compact size plus tight turning radius equals you can squeeze into spots other drivers wouldn't even attempt. Parallel parking stress? Gone. Now, let's talk about charging because no one wants to be stuck waiting hours just to get moving. Well, Renault made sure the 4 E-Tech is quick and convenient to top up. DC fast charging takes it from 15% to 80% in just 30 minutes. So by the time you've grabbed a coffee and scrolled through your phone, you're good to go. Charging at home? That's even easier. Plug it into a home wall box, and in 5 to 7 hours, you've got a full battery. Basically, you plug it in before bed and wake up ready to roll. Plus, regenerative braking helps you squeeze out extra miles by recycling energy every time you slow down. And now to the fun part. Exterior and interior design. Now, let's be honest, the Renault 4 E-Tech is one of those cars that turns heads, but not in a flashy, look-at-me kind of way. It's got that retro charm, borrowing heavily from the original 1960s Renault 4, but Renault didn't just copy-paste the old design. They threw in modern styling, cleaned up the lines, and gave it a fresh, futuristic feel. Right up front, you've got a bold, illuminated logo sitting in the middle of a sleek grille, giving off that modern classic vibe. The two-tone bodywork, that just adds to the personality, kind of like a stylish vintage jacket paired with fresh sneakers. But here's where things get interesting. Park it next to a Fiat 600e or Opel Frontera, and suddenly it doesn't stand out as much as you'd expect. It starts looking like just another modern compact EV with a retro twist, blending into the same crowd of city-friendly electric cars. Don't get me wrong, it's still a beautiful design, but it's missing that one thing that makes you stop and say, wow, that's different. Now, about its size, this thing measures 4.13 meters long, 1.80 meters wide, and 1.57 meters high. That's bigger than a Fiat Panda, but not exactly a full-sized SUV. It's got just the right footprint for city driving, fitting into tight spaces without feeling cramped. But if you were hoping for a more chunky, rugged presence, it doesn't quite give off that big car energy. Renault clearly put effort into making the 4 E-Tech feel rugged yet urban-friendly, and for the most part, they nailed it. Plastic fenders? Nice touch for a bit of toughness. But then you get to the rear design and things start to feel a little off. The shape doesn't quite have that same seamless flow you see on some other retro-inspired EVs. It's like Renault wanted to make a statement but couldn't decide between classic charm and futuristic styling. So, is it a good-looking car? Absolutely. Does it have a strong presence? Mostly, but does it stand out in a sea of other retro-themed EVs? That's where it gets tricky. Step inside the Renault 4 E-Tech and your first reaction is probably, wow, this is cool. Renault clearly put in the effort to mix retro charm with modern tech, and at first glance, it works beautifully. The seats, 100% recycled materials, but they don't just tick the sustainability box. They actually look and feel premium. The dashboard design is clean, the digital displays are crisp, and the overall vibe is futuristic with a nostalgic twist. Then you get to the infotainment system, and this is where Renault really flexes. It runs on Google Automotive, which means super smooth navigation, instant response times, and an intuitive layout. No clunky, outdated software here. Everything is fast, seamless, and actually useful. Even Renault's AI-powered voice assistant adds a nice touch, learning your habits and adjusting settings before you even think about it. But here's where things start to slip. Sit back, take a moment, and actually feel the materials, and you'll notice a bit of a split personality. The dashboard, seats, and armrests? Plush, stylish, and well put together. Renault even borrowed elements from the Renault 5, which has that smart, colorful, fun design. But look lower, around the center console, the doors, and frequent touch points, and that's where Renault drops the ball. The plastics here? Hard, rough, and disappointingly cheap feeling. It's the kind of material you'd expect in a budget work van, not a stylish city EV. The worst offender, the door panels have a texture so rough that it clashes with the otherwise well-thought-out cabin. It's a frustrating contrast because, with just a little more effort, this interior could have felt genuinely premium. When it comes to practicality, up front, there's plenty of room, but if you're on the taller side, you might find that the seats don't slide back far enough. The back seats? A different story. Headroom disappears quickly, especially in the open-top versions, which is a bit of a letdown if you regularly have passengers. The trunk? At 420 liters, it's actually bigger than the Fiat 600e, which sounds great until you notice the awkward loading lip. It's higher than expected, making it less practical for lifting heavy bags or luggage. Now, the Renault 4 E-Tech might have a retro look, but its safety tech is as modern as it gets. Safety. Whether you're cruising through the city or hitting the highway, the EV is packed with driver assistance features designed to keep you secure and stress-free. You've got lane keeping assist, which gently nudges you back in lane if you start drifting. Traffic sign recognition helps you stay within speed limits by reading road signs in real time because, let's be honest, we've all missed a speed sign or two. And if you ever veer off course, the lane departure warning system gives you a heads up before things get risky. But Renault didn't stop there. Adaptive cruise control makes highway driving a breeze, adjusting your speed to match traffic flow so you don't have to constantly brake and accelerate. And then there's the rear detection system with emergency course correction. Basically, if the car senses an obstacle behind you while reversing, it can automatically steer away to avoid a collision. They've basically packed the 4 E-Tech with enough smart tech to keep you safe, aware, and in control at all times. But does Renault 4 have an edge against competitors? How it stands against competitors. Without a doubt, the 2025 Renault 4 E-Tech is stepping into a crowded EV battlefield, where affordability, range, and practicality determine who wins and who gets left behind. It has nostalgic charm, modern tech, and a reasonable driving range, but is that enough to hold its own against competitors like the Kia EV3 and Jeep Avenger EV? Let's break it down. The Kia EV3 is one of Renault 4's biggest headaches in this segment. Kia's going for that futuristic, no-nonsense design, while Renault is leaning hard into retro aesthetics. If you want something with a bold personality, the Renault 4 delivers. But if you prefer a more conventional, modern SUV look, the EV3 might be the better fit. Performance-wise, Renault offers 120 horsepower base or 148 horsepower on the higher end, paired with a 40 kWh or 52 kWh battery, giving it a max range of 250 miles. Kia, on the other hand, is rumored to push closer to 300 miles, thanks to a bigger battery and better efficiency. So if range anxiety is your biggest concern, the Kia EV3 has the upper hand. Now, when it comes to tech, Renault doesn't mess around. The Google-based infotainment system is fast, smart, and seamlessly connected, but Kia fires back with a panoramic curved display and AI-driven infotainment. Renault balances digital with physical buttons, which some drivers prefer, but if you love the fully digital cockpits, the Kia EV3 might feel more futuristic. But this is where things get interesting. The Jeep Avenger EV isn't really aiming for the same urban commuter audience as the Renault 4. Instead, Jeep brings its rugged DNA into the EV space, giving it a 154 horsepower motor, a bit more powerful than the Renault 4's base model, but comparable to its higher-end variant. The key difference, though, is that the Jeep is built for adventure, while the Renault 4 is all about efficient city driving. If you need off-road capability, higher ground clearance, and all-terrain drive modes, the Jeep wins. But if you want something lighter, more energy efficient, and easier to park, the Renault 4 makes a stronger case. So where does the Renault 4 fit in this lineup? Well, it's not trying to be the most powerful or the longest range EV. Instead, it's aiming for that sweet spot between charm, efficiency, and everyday practicality. It's not competing with high-end electric SUVs like the Tesla Model Y or Volkswagen ID4. Those go after buyers willing to spend more for size and premium features. Instead, it's targeting the subcompact crossover crowd, offering something unique that stands apart from the Hyundai Kona Electric or Dacia Spring. And here we come to the biggest question. Is the Renault 4 worth its price? The 2025 Renault 4 E-Tech isn't aiming to be the cheapest EV out there, but it's not trying to be a luxury model either. It sits right in that mid-range sweet spot, offering a mix of style, practicality, and modern tech without hitting Tesla-level pricing. The base model starts at $43,560, which means it's playing in the same league as the Kia EV3 and Peugeot E208. If you're on a tight budget, you might look at it and think, that's a bit steep. And you'd have a point. There are cheaper EVs out there, but Renault is betting that buyers will pay a little extra for the mix of retro styling, premium materials, and that well-balanced tech package. Of course, if you want the higher-end version with 148 horsepower and 52 kilowatt-hour battery, expect to shell out even more. That puts it closer to options like the Hyundai Kona Electric, which means Renault is asking buyers to choose between a quirky personality or a more traditional crossover feel. Now, here's the good news. Maintenance is where you save. Since it's an EV, running costs are ridiculously low compared to a gas-powered car. No oil changes, no expensive exhaust repairs, no fuel costs eating into your wallet. Renault has engineered the powertrain for longevity, meaning there aren't a ton of moving parts to wear out. As long as you rotate your tires, check the brakes, and keep up with software updates, you're golden. Renault has also thrown in warranty coverage and regular software updates, which means your car stays fresh and efficient over time. While it might cost a little more upfront, the lower running costs balance things out in the long run. In the end, it's up to you. So if you had to choose, would you take this over a more futuristic-looking EV like the Kia EV3, or do you think Renault should have gone even further with the design? Comment what you'd change or keep the same. That's all for today. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more honest car-filled content. See you next time.